The ANC in KwaZulu-Natal has not registered candidates for several regions, but the party says it's appealing for a postponement.
The PC is deeply concerned that this situation might not only and merely replace the ANC as a governing party in some of these municipalities, but will effectively undermine the advancements of the National Democratic Revolution, which is only represented by the ANC. The PC believes that the organization has learned some lessons with regard to the IEC electronic candidate registration with its glitches and attendant mistakes, and call on all ANC members to rally behind the NEC in fixing the challenges emanating from the registration process. It is in this context that the ANC KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Executive Committee is fully behind the work done by the Secretary General's Office, which among others included to petition the Electoral Court for the IEC to reopen the candidate registration at least for a day, if not more than that.
You know what I'm wondering? Did any other party experience what Dumisani Ntuli describes there, what the ANC leadership has been describing, delays, glitches, and problems with the registration process? Or was it just the ANC? I have to wonder. All right, let's bring into this conversation then a political commentator, Xolani Dube, who joins me now to take this conversation forward. So, Xolani, the areas around the entirety of Zululand, so all 5 municipalities, KwaDukuza, Umzinyathi, Ndwedwe, Nkandla, you name it, there are candidates that have not been registered in those areas. At this point, let me channel my inner JJ Tabani and say, it's bad.
I don't think that is bad. Bad in South Africa has become a new normal, you know, and I think that's what we have to accept. That ANC is like this, you know. If it is bad, it means that that's the ANC when it comes to administration. Because I don't think that any political organization is supposed to cry and say there were glitches on the other side of the, what we call it, of the IEC. They are supposed to tell us that, look, guys, we've done everything that was necessary on our side. And now the people who are incompetent is the IEC. But here we see a political organization of which is a governing party crying foul, saying they've not filled up some of their candidates and so forth. And so also we have to bear in mind, Thulasizwe, that if there are about 200 disputes, it says a lot about that particular organization and about 7 municipalities that they might not be able to be contested by the ANC. It shows that in that province, there is no secretary, you know, there is no administration. And so one wonder who really groomed this guy, who mentored this guy to assume such a position of responsibility.
Who's this you're talking about? Who's this you're talking about? Dumisani Ntuli. I mean, he's been praised far and wide. He's won the adoration of people beyond KwaZulu-Natal. Some even tout him as a potential future Secretary General. You don't believe in that? Why?
Look, there is a standard between the ANC and us as society, you know, and I'm giving you an evidence, you know, 200 disputes, 7 municipalities is not going to be contested. And so how can you claim that that is the best administrator?
But can the blame be laid squarely on Dumisani Ntuli, or is it beyond the problems of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal? Because as you know, there are 35 municipalities where the party, you know, one ward, a couple of wards, the entire municipality, they were simply not able to register their candidates on time. Is it fair to blame Dumisani Ntuli? Unless you can expand a little bit more for me on why this should fall squarely on him and demonstrates that actually the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal is as good as not having a secretary.
Look, if we talk about the secretary of the organization, you're talking about someone who's an engine of the organization, the heart and the eyes and the ear of the organization. And he's there full time. You know, he's being paid by the organization to sort out this mess, you know, and now we are in a mess. And we ask ourselves as outsiders, or is it worth it for the ANC to keep him in that position? As I'm saying, he is the one who's supposed to coordinate all the registration. He's the one who's supposed to coordinate each and every correspondent in and out of the province on behalf of the ANC, you know. And so if he's failing to do that, why we have to give him praises? Possible people who are praising him are those who are in a particular faction, you know, because him as an administrator, he, as I'm saying, he's supposed to say, look, guys, I've done everything that was required of me as a secretary of the organization. And the fault is not in my office. The fault is in the IEC. But here, the fault is not with the IEC, it's with them, you know. Yeah. And so that's why I'm saying the problem is within the administration in the ANC. But look, what do we expect? This is an organization that is taking us into the hellhole as we speak in terms of administration of our country. And even in that province in KwaZulu-Natal, I can say, if I use Shirley Silverstein's poem, it is dark in here. The problem in KwaZulu-Natal, the leadership is like a kite in a hurricane. It starts from the royal household to the ANC as a governing party. There is no leadership in that province.
So are you willing then to extend that logic, your logic, around the failures of the Secretariat in KwaZulu-Natal to other provinces where candidates were not registered? The Free State confirming to eNCA's Siphamandla Goke, but also are you willing to go as far as to extend it to the Secretariat nationally? The Deputy Secretary General currently in that position, in that engine room, and go one better, the entirety of the National Executive Committee and even the President of the party?
Look, ANC is chaotic, Thulasizwe. We have an evidence. It's not a hypothesis, you know. There is an evidence in front of us, you know. And on top of that, we don't know what is happening in that secretariat in the ANC. Number of people are marching to the Luthuli House. Others are marching to the provincial offices. Staff is not being paid. And, you know, there is so much chaos. And so I don't know what other evidence or any argument that one can raise in order to justify the incompetence of the incumbent leadership of the ANC.
So lastly, Xolani, should the ANC fail to convince the Electoral Court and possibly the Constitutional Court, if it gets to that level, that there should be a reopening of this candidate registration process, which is a separate matter from the whole postponement application that the IEC has lodged at the Concord? Should the Electoral Court matter not succeed and we don't get a reopening? Because some would say, I mean, when the NFP failed to pay its deposit, no one said, let's reopen and extend the deadline for the deposit, right? So should that happen, how does that change the game in as far as the electoral map is concerned, particularly in areas such as Zululand, with a resurgent IFP, as we saw in the last elections?
Look, Thulasizwe, before I answer that question, remember years back about WC Squatcher in the Western Cape, where they failed also to fill the candidate for the Western Cape. And so this rot of incompetence in the ANC is being solidified now, you know, and so I don't think that we need to entertain it. But what we need to do, we need to ask ourselves, is it worth it to give this particular organization the vote to do the administration of our country? Because for the past 27 years, there are indications that they failed to do the administration. And now the evidence is they are even failing to govern themselves, to administer themselves. They are failing. Coming to your question in KwaZulu-Natal, look, in KwaZulu-Natal is a very interesting thing, because even the IFP, you know, its influence and power is evaporating, because bear in mind that the IFP was riding or was getting its popularity at the back of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. And now Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi is the shadow of himself. And that makes also the IFP in this in those areas not having a serious traction from the society. And also bear in mind of what is very important. IFP in KwaZulu-Natal, around those areas, there is an allegation about Thulasizwe, who is the mayor in the Zululand, that he is involved in this interconnectedness of black political elite corruption in KwaZulu-Natal. And so people, they are asking themselves, is it worth it to vote for the ANC for the IFP? Because at the end of the day, it seems as if IFP and the ANC, they interconnect around the corruption, around disadvantaging the natives of KwaZulu-Natal.
Look, Xolani, I don't know, in fairness to the IFP, they really did perform well in the previous election. The IFP and the Vryheids Front Plus were truly the story of the last election, 2019. And with the IFP, we can go as far as 2016 with the local government elections. But I just thought I should put that out there to counterbalance your views. Not saying that, you are wrong, but just counterbalancing and bringing in the other side of it.
Look, what I'm giving to you, I'm giving what is happening right now, All right. Because as I'm saying, even IFP is no longer a homogeneous organization. There are those who are feeling to have fallen off the bandwagon, because there are those who were with the so-called Ubaba Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, and there are those who were kind of a new breed in the IFP. And so even the IFP, there is no unity. You know why, Thulasizwe? Politics in South Africa has become kind of a source of livelihood for a number of people who use politics as their profession. And so it's no longer predictable what might be the outcome. Hence, you see number of mushrooming independent candidates.
Okay. Xolani, let's leave it there. Thank you so much for your time and your inputs here on All Angles. That is Xolani Dube there, weighing in on the situation around the ANC. And of course, as these things tend to happen, you start out talking about one thing and the conversation flows. We ended up talking a bit about the IFP. Not entirely irrelevant in the equation where the ANC has failed to register candidates in various areas of KwaZulu-Natal. The former